I grew up in a Christian home. My our family always went to a gospel preaching church. My mom was a Bible seminary graduate, and our entire immediate and extended family were what I would say to be very biblically literate. But under the surface, all was not well. In my childhood, I felt uncertain as to where I fit in. My parents, being themselves children of the Depression, sought to make good provision for us physically, but my father was an emotionally unattached and distant person. He worked from pre-dawn until dark every day, using our house as his base of operation. So he was there, but he wasn't there. As I entered into adulthood, my comfort zone also became work. Work was my identity, and I guess you could say it was my idol in many respects. When I observed my father's interaction with my elder brother, I had one brother, he was 8 years my senior, it taught me that I needed to be careful, or else I was going to get hurt by his harshness and criticism, much like my brother was. So, coming from a rural and religious background, I was largely sheltered from blatant sexual brokenness. But the chasm between my personal thought life and my church life was deep and wide. I grew up, went to Bible school, finished Bible school, met my wife at Bible school and got married. And my vow to my wife was to honor and cherish her. But I really didn't know how. I was not equipped to do what I had vowed to do. So we stayed together, but we drifted apart. Our mutual faith commitment was strong enough so that it kept pulling us back together in the aftermath of conflicts, some of which were pretty serious. And it seemed like the background issues of relational brokenness sometimes were like a wave that mounted up, threatening to capsize our little boat of life together. My double-mindedness fed into my wife's insecurity. And like my father, I worked long hours, and occasionally in moments of relaxation, I would rationalize going to places to view sexual immorality. This became more common as the aging process seemed to threaten my virility. Exposure to pornography would further isolate me from my wife, and when she would sense that something was amiss and ask me, I would at first stonewall her, and then I would acknowledge my wrong, and new wounds would be heaped on top of old wounds. Now, during much of this time, we were small group leaders in our church. Outwardly, we looked pretty good. Growing up in the church, I had learned that you can present an image that looks fine, even though there's unconfessed private sin that is eating away like a cancer from the inside. Living Waters has had a big effect on me in terms of practical Christianity. The grasp of sin is controlling. The desires of sin are insatiable, but now I know that Christianity is more than just managing all that mess of sin and desires. Instead, Christ can, and He wants to give me strength in the midst of my weaknesses. That is the freedom to which I'm becoming a disciple. It would not be an exaggeration for me to say that Living Waters saved our marriage. I have uncovered vows which I made to protect myself, and now I've renounced those vows. Increasingly, I've experienced Christ's healing for the wounds that were prompted those vows to be made in the first place. I now look at openness and candid confession of sin as my friends. I am less and less constrained by the felt need to manage other people's impressions of me. And I know that it is now okay to acknowledge my weaknesses. As a matter of fact, weakness no longer has the power to control me through shame.